Trenton Journal is for people who won't take no for an answer. Trenton Journal is for community leaders. Trenton Journal is for people who won't settle. Trenton Journal highlights some of the positive voices in the community and fills in the information gaps through original reporting.
Welcome to Capital Conversations. I'm your host, Kenneth Miles, founder and publisher of the Trenton Journal. Each episode, we bring you change makers and stakeholders who are making an impact in the capital city. Today, I have with me Trenton native Mike Melton, whose life has changed since 2009 when his wife was found murdered in their Neptune home. And you've been through a lot of different changes since then. Mm-hmm. And thank you for joining us.
No problem, brother. I appreciate when I reached out to you that you accepted to let me come on here and be able to talk to you, brother. You know what I'm saying? And let the world know, especially my community, like what I went through. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you bringing me on here, and I hope this message brings hope to some people out there that might be struggling with addiction or going through some of the things I went through, brother. So I appreciate you for letting me come on, man.
You know, thank you for reaching out.
Mm-hmm.
So for those who may not be familiar with your story, why don't you bring us back to 2009, the day you found your wife murdered?
Well, September 14, 2009, me and my wife was separated. We was best friends, though. We talked on the phone every day. And I called her every morning on the way to work. We had a project to do that day. And that morning, she didn't answer the phone. So I'm not thinking nothing of it. I'm just thinking maybe she in the shower or things of that nature. So once I get to work, they let me know, like, that, yo, have you talked to her this morning? Because she usually here by now, and we reached out to her, and she ain't answering, she ain't call out. Then I heard her friend call out, so now I'm thinking that maybe they went out last night, had too much fun or this or that, blah, blah, blah. So all I'm focusing on is the project. Homeroom over, they called me down to the office. They like, listen, she still hasn't called out. We call her, she ain't answer, we worried about her. Do you mind going down to check on her? So I said, cool, but I'm gonna ride down to Neptune. I'm in Red Bank at the time, about 22 minute drive. I said, well, if I get down there and she don't, and she call you guys, call me so I could turn around. So I get there on the phone with one of my friends and at the time, and I said, yo, let me go in here and wake her up. I go in, I find her on the floor, and I'm thinking that I go in, make a left, make another left. I find her on the floor. I call 911. The first responder comes. He tells me she's dead. I break down, and that's when he told me I gotta leave, and he said this looks like a crime scene. But he said something key to me that I'll never forget. He said, be prepared because you're gonna have to answer a lot of the same questions today. So I said, all right. So I went out. I called my mom called her mom. I called the school, let them know what happened. Then I called my friend that I was on the phone with, and then I just went and outside, and I just sat on the bench. Then all these cars and everything start coming around the corners. The police, the ambulance, the prosecutors, then I saw these Suburbans come around the corner, like 3 of them, and these guys jump out with white suits on from head to toe. I found out later that they were the forensic people. Then they came, and then the people from my job came, then my family came, and it was like a scene from First 48, man. And then they said, we got to take you down to talk to you. So I said, all right. First they had checked my truck. They put a light in my truck. I had a Durango at the time, and I later learned that they was looking for blood. Then they said, could we take your truck? They took my truck. Then they took me down. First I went to Neptune City Police Station, and nobody talked to me for like an hour. I was just sitting there. Then they was like, we got to take you around the corner to the prosecutor's office. So I go around the corner to the prosecutor's office in Asbury, Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office, and I sit there for another hour. Nobody talked to me, but I later found out they were studying my body language on the video. So then they come in, and I talked to them for 2 hours, and I'm thinking I'm helping them, thinking I'm helping them with the situation, because I don't know what happened, but I'm telling them about our marriage, how everything was, and then I leave and go through the different things of them coming to the house and getting my computers and doing this and that. But when it hit me was 2 days later, the newspaper article came out. It said she was found. It didn't say who found her, but in the last paragraph it said she was estranged from her husband. And when I saw the word estranged, I'm like, whoa. Then it says that They worked at the same job, and their divorce is supposed to be final October 6th. And this is in the last paragraph. So I'm like, yo, they trying to say I killed her. And then that's when everything hit me. At that point, my a friend, I was an attorney named Ron Venturi, he saw the article, and because his son used to come to my basketball tournaments, he saw the article and he called me and was like, don't talk to them no more. I'm going to represent you pro bono because they're going to try to pin this on you. So then that's when my life started to get crazy, man.
So it took 6 years for the case to be resolved.
Yeah.
So in between that 6 years, your job asked you to resign, and you decided not to.
Yeah.
What was it like going to work under that cloud of suspicion?
They put me in what happened was I had to go work. First, my lawyer came in, he threatened them. So they was like, all right, well, he got to go home till we figure this out. So now I'm at home. And then they was like, all right, well, he got to come back, but he got to work in the Board of Education office. So the Board of Education office is behind the school. So I'm seeing these kids every day growing up. You know what I'm saying? But I can't talk to them. I can't say nothing to them. I didn't know this at the time. It was a kid that came over. They had brought the kid over, and the kid had got in trouble. So they brought him over to me to sit there for a period or two. I take the kid back, and I go into the school, and my union rep at the time comes up, and she like, what you doing here? And I'm like, what you mean what I'm doing here? I go back to my office. As soon as I get back there, it's a memo on my desk from the superintendent, like, you can't go into no schools, and you can't be around no kids. So I black out, like, why y'all doing this to me, this and this? So then they send me home again. All right, go home for a couple months. So now I'm home again, just going. So then when they let me come back in, they said, all right, these are the rules. And that's when they told me, you can't be around no kids. You can't go into no schools. You just come here, you do your work, and you go home.
Were you formally charged at any point?
Nah. Only by the grace of God, and it was scary though, because like what the documentary don't talk about is that this started in 2009. So I had Ron, who was my lawyer. One of the first things he did was have a press conference at Asbury Park Press. He was like, you from Mercer County. They don't know you here. You need to let these people down here know who you are, just in case we got to go to trial. So we have a press conference down there so people get to know who I am. You know what I mean? So then Ron starts representing me, and he's protecting me from the police. They can't harass me or this, blah, blah, blah. 2013, I get a phone call from Ron. So I'm like, what's up, Ron? How you doing? He like, I got bad news. My heart dropped. I thought I was about to get arrested. Ron said, Mike, I got brain cancer. I'm like, what? He like, I got brain cancer, Mike. I'm like, what you mean you got brain cancer? He like, Mike, I got brain cancer. 6 months later, Ron was dead. 2 days after his funeral, the Monmouth County detectives was knocking on my door because they knew I didn't have a lawyer. You know what I'm saying? So they was pressing me, but by the grace of God, it didn't get to that point of them actually charging me. But they let me know that, like, this is what it's gonna be. You know what I'm saying? And Ron had told me that I needed to get used to living like this because most of the cases, they don't solve.
What have you learned about media and the truth?
Very good question, brother. That media can really design how people think. Because just those words at the end of the thing switched the whole narrative of the situation and had people looking at me a certain way. And it didn't help that I'm somewhere where I'm not from. Like if I'm from Trenton, it would have been a hot topic, but a lot of people I got confidence would have said, man, Mike ain't that kind of dude. He ain't doing nothing like that. But to them people down there, I'm like a tourist. I work there, but they don't know me. You know what I'm saying? After work, I go home. They don't know the kind of person I am. So maybe he did do this. And media could shape that. And once the new detective got on the case, that was one of the first things I asked him, like, why didn't, once y'all really figured it out, why didn't the media just say, like, why didn't y'all tell the media to say, like, this dude didn't do this?
So Mike, tell me what led to the break in the case. How did that happen? So after your attorney passed away, did you get another one? What led to
the break in the case? They found
case being solved.
They found a cigarette lighter at the scene.
In the apartment.
And at first they couldn't get the DNA off it. You know what I'm saying? But they just said the cigarette lighter looked out of place. They sent it to somewhere in New York, like to some like national place or something like that. And then they lifted print off the cigarette lighter. Once they lifted the print off the cigarette lighter, they brought one of the guys in and they started questioning him about it. But they still didn't have enough to be able to say, like, this person did this or this and that. But that was the break in it. You know what I'm saying? So, but during this time, I'm not getting none of this information. You know what I'm saying? None of this stuff. So what I did was, like on the documentary, it tells you, I went to the street myself. I'm not from there, but I had a friend who was used to be heavy in the streets in Asbury. He had turned his life around, but I knew he knew some people that he could probably tell me what happened. I don't know at this point, this like 2010, 11, somewhere around there, because my lawyer was still alive. I just want to know what happened for myself. You understand what I'm saying? So I go to him and he goes to the street and he introduced me to this gang member. And the guy was like, he said, yo, this is my man. His wife is the one that got killed in Brighton Arms. He's going crazy, bro. He just want to know what happened. And the dude said, all right, come back in 2 days and I'll tell y'all what happened. So we went back in 2 days and I was going to pay the dude for names and everything. The dude said, I can't give you no names or none of that, but this is what happened to your wife. And that's when he told me the information about what happened. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So then a couple of days later, my lawyer hits me and was like, yo, they want to know about the duct tape that they found at the scene. Your DNA is on some duct tape. And I was like, well, I don't really remember. At that time, I didn't remember the duct tape. This like 2010, somewhere around there. So I'm like, I could have took it off my shoe, this or that, when I was, after I found her, blah, blah, blah. He like, well, so then we had to decide whether we was gonna go in and talk to them again. He didn't trust them. He was like, nah, I ain't going in there. I think they trying to set you up. So now I'm like, we stressing over that. So then we finally go in. When I went in there, I think they was either following me or the guy that gave me the information was working for them too, because they knew that I went to the streets. They told me, like, we know that you trying to do your own investigation. And I'm like, yeah, because y'all not giving me no information. You know what I'm saying? And so it was that kind of thing. It was stressful, man. And then God sent Scott Samus, man, the other cop. And that's when, like right after Ron died, 2013, 2014, Scott came in.
And who's Scott?
The detective that solved the case.
All right.
Once he came in, he called me and he was like, I want to sit down and meet with you because I know what happened to your wife. But it took me about a year to talk to him because I ain't trust him. And once he sat down and talked to me, he told me, I had met him in Freehold. I got another lawyer and I met him in Freehold at this lawyer's office. And he sat down and he told me the same story that I had heard on the streets. Then I had to do another statement again and all that kind of stuff. And then, but at this time, I'm drinking more than a pint a day. You know what I'm saying? So as soon as that got done and they said that they saw
What were you drinking?
Alcohol, Ciroc, Hennessy, but I'm drinking more than a pint a day at this time. Once I started to escape, I used alcohol to escape. So when I used to get off work from the Board of Education, I would go home, I would get me a pint or a half pint or something like that, and I would just drink it and I just listen to sad music, man, and just reminisce about her because I felt so much guilt. I didn't know why I was. The thing that ate me up the most was when I went to therapy, I asked the therapist why I couldn't love her like she loved me. What was wrong with me? Why when she wanted to hug me and be up under me, it made me feel so uncomfortable. I didn't know what was wrong with me. And I felt like if I knew that, I could have been a better husband and we wouldn't have been separated. So I had put all the guilt on me because I didn't know what was wrong with me.
So I want you to tell the viewers what eventually happened. The detectives found out that
she had lived next door to a drug dealer. And the drug dealer had $15,000 in the freezer of his house. His girlfriend went to a party. His girlfriend was bragging about the money. Some guy heard her at the party. The guy hired some stick-up boys to go rob the drug dealer, and they went to the wrong house, man.
Case of mistaken identity.
Yeah.
Mike, throughout everything that you've been through, what have you learned? What is your takeaway?
That God doesn't, that we go through things, but God doesn't tell us the whole story of everything we're gonna go through. Because if he would have told me that I had to go through all of this to get to him, I would have asked for option B. You hear what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, nah, God, that's too much. That's why he don't tell us. But he wants us to be able to go down and go through the storm, to go down that dark alley, because at the end of it is where you're gonna find your purpose in life. So through this situation, I found what he brought me on this earth for. You know what I'm saying?
Which is what?
To share my story and to go help save people's lives, and a testimony for what he did to me, and a testimony for people to follow how Christ lived, man.
What was your bottom with alcohol? When did you say enough is enough, and how did you get the help that you need?
My bottom with alcohol came, the crazy part about it is, so I go to rehab the first time, I'm not ready. You know what I'm saying? I'm comparing myself to the people instead of identifying with them. I'm drinking a pint a day. I heard somebody in there say they was drinking a half gallon. I'm like, I'm not like him. Heard another guy say he was drinking hand sanitizers and hairspray and this and this. I'm like, man, I'm not like these people. Then another guy said, what you drink in the morning? I'm like, I don't drink in the morning. So I told myself, I don't have an alcohol problem. I'm only here because my wife got murdered and I need therapy, but I was an alcoholic. So they told me too. It was a tech there. He was shaking the chair in front of me in this group, rocking the chair, getting on my nerves. I'm like, why you rocking that chair in front of me? He said, because I'm saving this seat for you, because you ain't do nothing while you was here. And when you come back, you're going to be drinking twice as much. But I was already too far gone. I had the shakes. I started having the DTs and this and that. So my ex-wife, the one I married in the midst of this situation, she threw a party for me in Atlantic City, man, and all her friends and my family, everybody brought me big bottles of Ciroc. And I had went too far, man. And I was sitting next to one of my friends that night, and I looked at him and I ain't recognize him, bro. And I told myself that he looked like a demon to me, bro. And I told myself, when I wake up the next morning, I ain't never drinking again. But when I woke up the next morning, I realized I couldn't stop. Now I'm drinking against my will. I'm going to like 7 different liquor stores. Every liquor store I go in, they putting a Ciroc on the counter when I walk in, bro. You know what I'm saying? And so one night I was laying in the bed and shaking and I couldn't stop. And my ex looked at me and she said, do you want me to take you to crisis? And I said, I know what I got to do. I went in the basement and I cried and I got on my knees and I said, God, either help me or take me, man. And I knew I had to go back to rehab. I flew to California first because I didn't want to go back to Florida because I was embarrassed. The rehab in California looked whack. I called my dad and my ex and they was like, you can't come home. You got to go to Florida. So I fly from California all the way to Florida. Going to rehab in Florida out of desperation. After I did 7 days detox, I go into rehab, and out of desperation on the first night in rehab, I opened the AA book for the first time, bro. I had never opened the book before. You know what I'm saying? And I went to this chapter called More About Alcoholism, and that's what changed my life. The chapter, it talks about different things we do to classify ourselves non-alcoholic. Like, I'm only gonna drink on the weekend. I'm gonna change from beer to wine. I'm gonna change from white liquor to dark liquor. I'm only gonna drink when I'm going on vacation and this and that. So I'm reading this book and I'm like, yo, what year they wrote this book? They talking about me. This is all the stuff I tried. Then the part of the chapter that really changed my life, it was a guy who was 30 years old. And the guy said, I'm not gonna drink again until I retire because alcohol is messing up my business. So now once I saw he had a business, I locked in because I got a business. And they said the guy waited 25 years to drink, man. He was sober 25 years, bro. They said he put on his slippers. He had all his money in the bank. He was rich, successful. Said he picked up a drink. They said in 2 months, he was in the hospital and he died in less than 4 years, bro. The alcohol still progressed in his body even over those 25 years, even when he wasn't drinking, bro. And that's when I knew if I don't do something, I'm gonna die, bro. And I sprung into action. I started doing the steps, and once I did the 12 steps, step 4 and 5 changed my life forever, bro.
How long have you been sober?
Over 7 years now.
Okay. And what do you say to anybody who may be dealing with addiction?
The alcohol or the drugs are only the substances that you're using. The real problem is you have a spiritual malady inside of you, and you got to get to the trauma. See, steps 4 and 5, that's what that did for me. Like, I'm gonna explain it real quick because I know we on time or whatever. Step 4, you have to do a fearless moral inventory of your life. So the first time in my life, I had to be totally honest about everything. The 4 things you got to do in the inventory is I had to write down everybody I harmed, what I did to them, and what I should have did different. Write it out on paper. Then I had to write down all my fears, everything I fear and why. Then I had to write down, it's almost over. Oh, then I had to write down all my resentments, everybody I hate, why I hate them, but what role I played in it. Then I had to do a sex inventory. Mm-hmm. Everybody I had sex with, did I try to use them? Did I try to manipulate them? And all this kind of stuff. And then when I saw who I was, bro, for the first time in my life, I saw who I was and I was disgusted, bro. Because I didn't know I was that bad. I could rationalize anything in my head. But when I saw myself, it disgusted me. Then I had to take this paper, take it to my sponsor. He looked at it and now I got to explain everything to him. Each person individually, everything. And once I did that, bro, I felt like this. I felt ashamed. I felt naked. I felt all that pride, ego, arrogance, everything was shattered, bro. Because another man knows everything about me, bro. You know what I mean? And then so when I'm feeling like this, then he said, we got to pray. We got to pray for God to forgive you, for God to make you a new person, and for God to give you strength to forgive yourself. We prayed, and he said, now go back to your room and meditate and think about everything we did. So I go back to my room, and I'm walking towards my bed, bro. And I never forget this moment. This warm sensation went through my whole body, and this voice came in my head and said, all you have to do is serve me, and you never have to worry about nothing else. And it was like blinders came off of my eyes, and all I wanted to do was serve God. I had never felt nothing like this before in my life, bro. And a couple weeks later was the first time I told my story. And at the rehab, and everybody at the rehab was there. And when I told it, everybody froze and was looking through me. And that's when I knew God picked me for this to be my purpose in life, bro.
Telling part of your story, right?
Yeah, telling my story to be my purpose in life.
Speaking of stories, you wrote a book. Could let the readers, let the viewers know the name of your book, how they could find it, and what it's about.
My book is called From Pain to Purpose, and the book comes out September 14th. The same day that, you know what I mean, everything happened, and it's going to be available on Amazon, or you could get it from me. I'm going to have autographed copies of the book. You know what I'm saying? You could get it from me, and you could get it from Amazon. And the book is about my journey, but it's about how I felt during all of this stuff and everything was going on, man. You know what I mean? Like how I felt, what I was going through, what was going through my mind. Because people seen the cold case files thing, they seen the 911 did the killer call, but they never heard my side of the story, what I was going through, who was in my life, who left my life. You know what I'm saying? All the different things that went along for those 10 years. You know what I mean? And how did I become that person? It starts out in my childhood, the different things I went through in my childhood that shaped me into that person, man. And it's 2 things that I always like to talk about on why I love God so much, man. One is Ron called me 2011, bro. And he told me, he said, what's wrong with you? I said, Ron, man, I've been asking God to solve this case, praying God won't solve this case. And he was like, you got to get used to living like this, like I told you before, right? So I couldn't. I turned my back on God at that moment, bro. I went on every dating site it was. Plenty of fish, black people meet. And all I wanted to do was drink alcohol and fornicate because the sex and the alcohol helped me escape what I was doing. It gave me instant gratification. And I remember having a conscience at first, like you shouldn't be doing this like this. Then I remember not having a conscience, not caring. Then I remember loving it. And I know at that time I was working for the devil, bro. And if I would have died during any of that time, I was going to hell, bro, with no questions asked. And God reached down and grabbed me, bro. He didn't have to do that. He gave me another chance, bro. And the second one, so I'm eternally grateful for that. And the second one is, my first wife used to say, you know what your problem is? You don't know how to choose a side. You do bad things, you feel bad about it, and then you do the bad thing again. You know what I'm saying? I would go over to one of them countries. I'll be chilling with the women, get me a woman for the night. And then we'll be done what we doing. She'll be in the bed. I'll go out by the pool, sit on the thing, drink my Hennessy, smoke my Black & Mild, and I think about my life. And I say, this when the other side comes out. I say, what you doing with yourself, man? You think you coming over here, you having fun doing this and doing that, but what you gonna do when you're 75, 80 years old, and you look back at your life, and you say, yeah, you did the basketball thing with the kids, but you made money from that. But when it came to being a real husband and a real man, you wasn't nothing, man. And I thought about how I would feel having no time to fix nothing. How I would feel, man. And God gave me a chance to rewrite my life, bro. So every day I wake up, I think about that opportunity. How I would have felt then and the chance that he gave me now, bro.
When you and I was talking before we started to record, we've been trying to sit down for a minute, trying to find the right date. And it's interesting, today of all days, we finally got the chance to sit down, and today is special because
it's today's Yanel's birthday. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't planned for me to do it like this on her birthday. I swear it was like my aunt's funeral was tomorrow. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna be with my family today. So I'm gonna come down to Trenton, and I'm like, yeah, it's her birthday. I'm gonna go put the flowers on the grave and do this and do that. So it was like the Most High shaped everything for it to be like this, for me to be able to take this day off, to come down here, see you, go put the stuff on the grave, and then give some honor to her, and then do this podcast. You know what I'm saying? And now I could be here for my family today, and my favorite aunt, her funeral is tomorrow. So it's a tough time for my family, but the Most High gonna get us through it, brother.
Last question for you. What are your thoughts about the criminal justice system after all that you experienced?
Two different things. One, it's a real serious thing when people say, make sure you have representation when you go talk. Because in my mind, I thought that I was really going in there to try to help a situation. But all they did was took everything that I said. When I watched the show 911 Did the Killer Call, they showed most of the interrogation, right? Like a big chunk of it. I gave them all the information that they used against me, because I'm just off of adrenaline and what's going on. I'm just talking. So all of the stuff that they used to try to get me, I gave them all of the information that I gave them that, even though I was innocent. You know what I'm saying? And it's scary because they so trained on questioning. I knew I wasn't there. I knew I didn't have nothing to do with it. They had me questioning that in my mind. The longer I sat there, like, was I there? That's how your mind starts to work. Because I'm sitting there for 2 hours while they just switching people, coming in, drilling me with questions. You know what I'm saying? That's how crazy that stuff is, bro. But on the other side of the criminal justice system, I know it's a white and a black thing in this country. You get what I'm saying? This and this, blah, blah, blah. But in this situation, it was the opposite. It was two black cops that was trying to take me down. It was a white man that came in and said, this guy ain't got nothing to do with this. And my lawyer that represented me pro bono was white. And I know many black attorneys, none of them offered to help me or nothing. So God sent a white attorney, and God sent a white detective to come in and say, this man ain't got nothing to do with this. So you don't know who God might use to help you out, regardless of what color is. So that's why Scott Salmons here always be my brother, bro. Because when he told me on the phone, what made me trust him and what almost brought me to tears, bro, when he told me, even if we don't convict them, I'm going to give you your life back because what they did to you was messed up, bro. And he retired after the case because that's how pissed off he was about the situation.
Mike, I definitely appreciate you for telling part of your story. And if people want to follow you, where can they follow you?
They can follow me on my Facebook page. Go to Mike Melton. I'm on TikTok with From Pain to Purpose. You know what I'm saying? You can also go to my YouTube pages. I got several different YouTube pages. I got one for my basketball company. I'm cleaning up my YouTube part of it. I just don't have the time to really just focus just on that. So most of my content and stuff like that, you're gonna be able to see on my Facebook page. You know what I'm saying? Mike Melton, and man, I want to thank you for allowing me to come on here today, brother, for real.
I appreciate you.
It really means a lot, man.
Well, you definitely gonna help people with your story. That's part of the purpose, right?
Yeah, 100%, 100%, 100%, man.
Thanks for joining us.
All right, good brother.